On the first segment of Politicals, Governor of Akwaibom State, Umo Eno, has started drumming support for the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu ahead of the 2027 election. The governor, a member of the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, assured Tinubu of his support towards the president's re-election during the flag-off ceremony of a 65-kilometer road construction in Akwaibom State. And so our very first subject matter will be on 2027 election. I know it's quite distant, it's quite far from now. We have just about 2 years before 2027. But Akwaibom State Governor supports Tinubu's re-election. And to have that conversation with us is a public affairs analyst, the Secretary, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigeria, Enugu State Branch, and a medical practitioner, Dr. Chikezie Obasi. Doc, thanks for joining us on Signature Evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Good evening, my dear.
Okay.
I would have preferred that dear as well. Moving on, there are speculations that Governor Umo Eno is planning to defect to the APC. That is a speculation. And like we say these days, allegedly. So that's just one point. But what factors really influenced the statement credited to him during the flag-off of that project in his state? Why would you think that the governor of Akwaibom State, who was voted into power on the platform of PDP, the major opposition party in Nigeria, would publicly support an APC government at the central?
First, to put the record straight, I don't think he was the first person that made such comment. You remember the Delta State governor at a point made it clearer, I think some few months ago, that if there's no Tinubu, there was no him. He made that statement. And the second point I want to make is that if you think 2027 is 2 years, no, the election of 2027 has started. Parties have up to this time next year to begin to fix their primaries. So by May, June next year, we would have seen the primaries up. This is and they should be able to start campaign around July down to January. So they have about 6 months, 180 days, to campaign by Electoral Act. Now, let's put the context clearer. First of all, what is political party in Nigeria? It's an SPV to win an election.
Did you break it? SPV?
It's a special purpose vehicle to win an election. So it's not an ideological issue, as it were. Let's begin to look at the politicians you know. Apart from Bola Ahmed Tinubu, former President Buhari, and probably Jonathan, who amongst those that are still standing today had not defected from one political party to the other? Who amongst them have not hobnobbed from, with the other political parties? So it's a matter of convenience. When they see the moving vehicle, they try to go in. And if you look at PDP today, there are conditions you know clearly that it does not support any governor going against the president. In the first instance, all of them are first-time governors. And if we are to tell ourselves the truth, any governor that requires re-election, his greatest interest is re-election. He doesn't really care whether the president is coming back or not, but he is actually interested in his re-election. So in that bid, he wouldn't want any distraction. Eno may not have gotten any reason why he antagonized Mr. President. And meanwhile, the PDP, his own political party, is not showing any sign of strength. The candidate they've gotten is, who is a serious contender, Elijah Bukar Atiku, is already hobnobbing, coalition with another political party. And that may not mean well to the governors of this. So if you take a look at that political party today, you'll be wondering, where are they going to get the strength, to fuel their candidates? And then why should you go against a president whom your re-election may be dependent, on your helping him to win his own seat? Remember, by Nigerian convention, we normally do our gubernatorial election 2 weeks after the presidential election. So after 2 weeks, they are at the mercy of a president to decide whether you're going to survive or not. Your interest is not who becomes the president. Your interest is to retain your own seat. So politics, as they say, it's a power of who gets what, when and how, summing it up to be a selfish game, will make any human being to first think about self. And then self-preservation is the first, order of nature. So the governor will tell you, why am I struggling with Mr. President, who had been helping us? He gave us more money. We have not had any problems with him. So why should I go ahead to have problems with him?
Even when he is of the opposition party.
I decided by defining that opposition is parties are SPV. So there's nothing like opposition or proposition. It's a matter of convenience. Today we saw the Rufai, who we know clearly contributed immensely to Mr. President Bola Tinubu emerging as a president. Talking about against the president, because he has got another interest. We only saw Ganduje, who is at teachers others neck with Kwakwanso, talking that Kwakwanso is coming back to APC. So I mean, is there any political party that is ideological? So it's just an SPV.
There was something you said that even the Delta State Governor, Right Honorable Boroweri, also made some statements.
Yes, I made
his support for President Tinubu's re-election, and he is of PDP. There are about 12 of them. They just rose from a meeting the other day and issued a communique. Meeting at Oyo State, I think, issued a communique. They are not interested in any merger. And then someone else said that that could mean their support for the re-election of the president.
Some of us had known clearly. We said it over and over and over that we are not seeing any campaign, so much campaign in 2027. The signs are clear. The governors that attempted, having some opposition have been shut up. Let's begin by looking at Fubara. Fubara seems to be a governor who wanted to be a little bit assertive. He didn't understand the environment he was flying on. And so many people will tell you it's the problem of between him and Wike. For some of us, it's beyond that. Because early in his days, he began to hobnob the likes of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi. These are people that we are most likely going to be up against Mr. President. And we saw a Wike who didn't like that, his fraternity with those men. And Wike was unleashed on him. We saw Bala Mohammed, who began talking seriously against Mr. President, and as we speak, EFCC is sweeping in, looking at the the coffers of the state with the allegedly, I think, about 70 billion naira fraud. His accountant general had been whisked for weeks now. Bala Mohammed has kept mute. I mean, when you take a look at that, you see the political horse trading going on. You would ask yourself a very big question: which one is my own? All I just want is to be re-elected as a governor.
So would you say Umoina's alignment with the federal government is a political strategy or a silence defection concerning the alleged story that he's going to move from PDP to APC like 13th of May this year?
Now, let me be frank to you. If Umoina moves to APC, he has lost nothing and he has gained all. I'm not telling him to move, and I will tell you why. He has a state where the speaker, the Senate president, is from. And you can't take it away from Mr. Senate President. He's a very strong politician, a very strong one. Having been a two-time governor, a former minister, and the speaker, and the Senate president, the only option you have as a governor in the present dispensation is to be calm. If you're not calm, you might not see yourself coming back in 2027. That's the reality. And then you begin to ask yourself a lot of questions. What does he gain if he begins to be strong-head in a system where the political parties have not shown fidelity, to the beliefs of the party? Who is going to be the political party's candidate? Let's x-ray those that are in that political party today. First is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, a man that was a founding member of PDP, defected to the then ACN, had a ticket of ACN, ran for president, defected to AP, continued in APC, ran down a PDP and went back to PDP to pick the ticket. I mean, you begin to ask yourself, and he's today talking about SDP and the coalition. Does he really believe in that political party? If he believed in that political party in 2019, 2023 election, why didn't he actually allow the South, to fly the card, the card of the political party? So that's the first big question. And then secondly, one area I want us to understand clearly is that Nigeria is divided, into two regions, to a reasonable extent, the northern and the southern region. As it is today, the political calculation is that the South should do an 8-year tenure, a two tenure of 8 years stretch, or at least let's say even if it is for 4 years, but should be 8 years. However, and incidentally, if you say let's change the narrative now, are you bringing another person? I can tell you the political calculation may be difficult to ask the Southerners to vote another person. And then are you bringing a new Southern person to replace Bola Ahmed Tinubu? That means that the person will go for the next 8 years if you don't take time. And if you take a look at those political calculations, you find that it is better for them in political power. Will tell you, is it not better for us to allow this man finish his tenure, and we Kukuma will finish our own in peace? Because if you disrupt him, and I keep telling people, Rotimi Amechi disrupted Jonathan by going through NGF, when they all come to APC. And then when Jonathan lost the election, he made sure that the next 2 weeks, Rotimi Amechi didn't even near the ballot boxes. He couldn't get his candidate to be the next governor. The then PDP candidate who was the now Minister of FCT, Wike, won the election. So the issue is, no governor will want to trade off his re-election because you want to support a political party that does not really believe in you. Why I say it does not really believe in you is, at the end of the day, you discover that all of them were just using PDP, as SPV. We had had a situation whereby former PDP chairman turned out to be APC chairman, and former APC chairman turned out to be a PDP chairman. So, let's look at what they're all looking out for is, which vehicle would I use to get to my destination? Not necessarily the color on the brand of the vehicle, but if one comes on Apuap, we'll move it to one Apuap and then move to where we are going to.
Now, we're still on the factors that would have necessitated this. One was the muled defection of the governor, the defection plans. But then again, there's a lingering leadership crisis in PDP. Could that also be is he also looking at the party as not viable enough to, like you're saying, to traffic him to wherever it is he's going?
No, that's not an issue.
The leadership crisis.
No, that's not. I will tell you something. You see, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to a reasonable extent, has proven to be a person that may be politically, obey his own words. One thing you should clearly understand was in 2023 election, Sheyi Makinde had an agreement with Bola Ahmed Tinubu to support him for president, and they all agreed that the political structure of PDP will be maintained the way it was. And after that election, PDP won back their seats. In political context, that was a very good, business. If you really look at it, that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when you have a business part with him, you would actually keep to his own side of the bargain. So, when you take a look at that, governors might have gotten a part with Mr. President that if they support him, that they will be coming back. And even the National Assembly members, there was a joke Mr. President played when he was presenting the 2025 budget. He said 2027, and they all reminded him it was 2025 that, it was 2024 that we are still talking about. So, it means all of you have been re-elected. It was a joke, but it was not a joke. It was a political statement for those of us that really look at it. So, it means that Mr. President may be ready to, work with the governors. And many of these governors, when they had tribunal cases, Philas added that Mr. President allegedly, agreed that, look, let's allow every other person that has won election, to return back. And none of them was changed at the tribunal. That's, what we saw. But what we knew then was that the governor of Abia State, Oti, after winning his re-election battle in the court, he thanked Mr. President for not interfering. And some of us like, why are you thanking Mr. President for not interfering? Is he supposed to interfere in the first instance? So we knew clearly that if we really look down into that pot of soup, that Mr. President probably had a deal with them. So based on that, He might decide not to defect, but one thing that is sure is that PDP will never get herself until after 2027. Shey Makinde has rightly, aptly put it. He says that they are now in the making sure that PDP organizes herself. So that is what is more paramount with the governors today. And PDP organizing herself, we just have barely less than 1 year to primaries, and you're still talking about organizing yourself. It means you might organize yourself after the election. So for me, the seeming crisis in the PDP, for me, it's a deliberate attempt by some. Remember, there are some party members that still fly the flag of PDP, both in the day and that night, but we still know that they have the oxygen, being sponsored by APC. A typical example is the FCT minister, who is in PDP and flies the flags of PDP. But we know clearly that his oxygen is being supplied via APC. And you can't take Mr. Wike, you can't take him out of any equation in PDP. So when he said he was going to go to Bayelsa State, the began to scream on top of his voices, and even told the wife of Mr. President that, look, they all support Mr. President, because he knows clearly that an attempt to disturb Wike is on a mission, and what is his mission? That the southern person will be there for 8 years, and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar would not win the election. That's he has said it time without numbers, that both of them cannot say eyeball to eyeball politically now. And maybe a position may change tomorrow, but for today. So it's obviously clear that the southern governors are coalescing in the first instance to make sure that Bola Ahmed Tinubu, completes his 8-year tenure. And one of the things they will do is to make sure that the governors of PDP, which many of them came, from the southern part, I think at the last count, you have about 4 or 5 governors of PDP from the south. You have Fintiri of Adamawa State, and some of them, getting them together to make sure that they drum the same, support for Mr. President. Bearing in mind that if Mr. President wins 2027 election, these governors will continue to be there till 2031. So if they don't disturb the equation, the same cohorts will be there to get us a new president in 2031. And they'll be in the same equation. So don't think that it is party affair. You might want to disturb the equation or to distort the whole system now. And you see yourself out of the system for even in 2031. So when you're looking at Emeno, what Emeno says, you begin to ask Emeno, if he gets back 2027 without any trouble, he might be there to join in deciding who becomes whatever will be in 2031. And that's the package they're looking at.
So is it really ethical for a state governor to publicly endorse a presidential candidate rather, even before the party's primaries?
What is ethics about it? You'll be talking about morality. And there's no morality in it. It's amoral. Politics is amoral. It has no, whether you like it or right or wrong. What they do is they look at the cards on the table and look at, how do we play this card better off? Now, all over the world, clearly, the option of re-election had always been, the odds had always favored the incumbent. Many times, we know that across the world, about 93% of the time, the president or the governors will be re-elected. Now, that's incumbent. And then just a few percentages of time. In Africa, that opportunity or that odds moves as much as 95 to 98%. So it's quite high. So Emeno will be trading on a very high, tension cable if you make the mistake. And I can tell you the truth. The man that's the president is highly strategic. How do I mean? Many people saw Tinubu, going up there in the north.
Tinubu is the president's son.
Yes, going up there in the north, and people think they are joking. They are not joking. They are feeling the pulse of the masses. They are doing a SWOT analysis. They are looking at their strengths and their weaknesses. Those weaknesses, they will fill up. And some of us will be saying, they are booed. No, they are not booed. They are looking at the masses. They look at where they are going to fill up. The wife actually went to Delta State, and they were singing, the nurses, your mother and my mother, And if you listen to her, she was quick, and understood the well-polished politician. She said clearly that she understood why they were annoyed, that she didn't get their own dresses for them, So they are going around the country looking at, the lacunas that will actually obliterate their coming back. This is 1 year, so they are getting the raw information, the raw data. They're not expecting you to tell them whatever they don't want to hear during the election. First is the son, second is the wife. And they are moving around, getting the real information, the real data, so they are planning. Now, if you have any problem with him and they look at you as an obstacle, and if they understand now you're an obstacle, my dear, a president of a country like Nigeria is so strong that your obstacle, they will uproot it. In fact, uproot you and uproot everything before that election. For those who may not understand clearly, we can understand today that Mr. Fubara, who was an elected governor of Rivers State, is not being invited by the sole administrator to come and give accounts of the expenditures. They explain. When you can say it's polished way to explain, but you know what it means. If you explain tie and work.
You have to bring evidence.
You have to bring evidence. And that's a sitting goal. So if you don't understand the enormous powers, Mr. President, can carry, then you're making a mistake. And Tinubu actually showed that strength in Fubara. Many of us felt that opposition would have, said no, that particular state of emergency will not work. But the next day, before 11 o'clock, we heard that the eyes have gotten it. And a stamp of authority was sealed. And that was it. So if you don't understand it, 1 year is too big enough to take your case to a table and bring political strategies to plot you are being removed as a governor. And it will happen before you. And all of us go shout, 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 shout. You go tired.
Now, Governor Eno is the fourth governor of Akwaibom State. And all of the past three plus him were all elected on the platform of PDP. So it's right to say that PDP, the voters, the electorates in Akwaibom State has voted along that party line. They have always voted PDP into power. But most recently, we have the Senate president, like you rightly pointed out, who served as a PDP governor in that state, but now a senator and of APC extraction now. We also have the governor of state for, I think, petroleum, gas, okay, drug twisted, who is also of APC. So we have powerful politicians who are also at the government at the central, being from Akwaibom State. Do you think that with the governor's public endorsement of the president, that it will affect the voting trend in Akwaibom State?
What voting trend do you have? There are two parties in Akwaibom State, APC and PDP. One thing is sure.
It's not like Enugu where we have semblance of APGA and even...
the two political parties are strong. The governor is holding sway as PDP, but the Senate president is holding sway as APC and leader.
And the minister.
And the minister. 2027. If Eno doesn't play his card, those guys will feel the candidate. And if they feel the candidates of their own godson, I mean, it's a matter of interest. They might take you out. So that's why I began by saying first, Eno is playing a politics that for his own survival. First, he wants to, have his re-election come on board. Today, he's holding this way in PDP. Let's look at it clearly. He's had all the cards in PDP. He's the person that's controlling the PDP, drumming the boss of PDP. So if he decides to come tomorrow, okay, I'm going to APC, can't you see he has still the opportunity of having an opposition in the state? Do you understand what I'm trying to point out? Because, I mean, who is going to come out from PDP, from how are you going to collect it from him? He's already the man in charge, in control, absolute control of PDP. So if he decides to defect tomorrow, what he's going to move is carry everybody in PDP into APC. So there's no opposition again. And they'll give him his ticket, and he will spend less money to have a return to the seat of, as governor of the state. So he's playing his own politics. He doesn't want any trouble. That's why I began by saying that most of the governors, anything they're looking at, they're saying, look at them. Is he a first-time governor, a second-term governor? Because if he's a first-time governor, his basic interest is re-election. You know, if he's a second-term governor, he might be looking at, can I maneuver? And that was exactly what happened to Bala Mohammed. You know, Bala Mohammed is a second-term governor, you know, and incidentally, he was looking at how do we manipulate and get into Aso Rock, and then began to make utterances, which we saw where it all landed politically. I'm not saying that that was the major thing that happened, but we saw him in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks. He has a little bit faced the nuisance in his own house. So I think it's not issue of opposition or no opposition. There is no opposition in this issue. It's the issue of the sense of human being, wearing the different clothes and dancing different tunes at the same time. They still have their supporters, you know, moving with them. The senatorial area where Akpabio came from, still respect him as Akpabio. If you like, let Akpabio come from XYZ party. They still respect him. Nigerians do not understand clearly that differentiation between political parties, as we have been made to appreciate that over the last few years. So there's no difference. There's nothing there. It's not going to affect him. I think if we decide to defect to PDP, it is woe unto us because we are gradually moving to one-party system, which is not right, you know. But for him, it's a political win-win for him.
Having said all of this, let's go back to something that you mentioned in passing, and that's the coalition. There was a coalition or a merger, I don't know which happened exactly in 2013 before the 2015 elections. The coming together of CPC, AD, ACN that culminated into APC. And that particular party that was formed brought in the president in 2015, and that party has been in government at the central up until today. The coalition that the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former presidential flag bearer of PDP in 2023 election, is championing, do you think it has all it takes? Do you think it will eventually stand that strong, thrive enough to take over power from the APC? It doesn't matter who their presidential flag bearer is, but do you
the coalition is already dead.
You think it's dead on arrival?
It's dead. It's not even, didn't even arrive.
Oh.
The coalition didn't arrive. You see, the context, the environment that happened in 2013 are not the same thing. Let me tell you, you can't play politics without fund. You cannot play presidential politics without money. Even in America, we saw Elon Musk at a point brought out $40 million, you know, to support Trump. That's what you know. I can tell you so much money went in. 2013, what was the oxygen that gave them money? 2 standard big oxygens. In fact, 3. First was Lagos. There was a Lagos which has money more than 23 states of the Federation aggregated together. It was standby with its own fund, was funding everything. Lagos has a private jet where you can move around. There was a river state, which its own oil money is Obundi Basnana Wufa Wufa. You know, it has so much money. And there was this Kano state. So they have it all. They could match Mr. President. Today, and I said, people may not understand what happened to Fubara. Fubara was obnobbing with those that actually we are seemingly looking as if they want to form coalition, which were Amechi and Atiku Abubakar. Now, for people who may not appreciate, why again the governor of Delta State shouted from day one that is in supporting Bola Ahmed Tinubu was because it was a Delta State fund that was used in campaigning for PDP in 2023, where Okowa was the vice president. In 2019, you could see that Elijah Atiku Abubakar had some issues, even when Mr. Buhari was not really having some fun, because he made a choice that supported Obi. Obi didn't have that state fund, to finance a whole lot of things. Atiku Abubakar didn't have that state fund, but they couldn't make much impact. This time around, he felt, let's go to the oil, rich states. Now, what has happened? Suddenly, the man that could have been so, eager to work with them, Fubara, have been taken away from the government house. So he's actually struggling to come back as a governor in the first instance. The other ones I've already told you that don't come to our state for any fund. So where are they going to get the fund? As I speak to you today, you remember, Fin 3 of Adamawa State stripped even Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of his title. So what does that imply to you? I mean, the fight is starting from your home. So where are you going to get the funds to run that particular enormous responsibility of, having a coalition? So that's why I say it already failed. The whole PDP governors are already telling you we are not into the coalition. So Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, in fact, the next they will say for even going to talk about that, you might be sentenced to anti-party activities, that they don't want people like you. That may be the restructuring you are seeing Shey Makinde. They might come up to tell you that, in fact, since they've looked at the political party, they want pure breed PDP members to be there. Anybody that has gotten anything to do with APC, or we are thinking is going to, let him continue. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will go. So Mr. President had quietly gone behind to hold the governors. Those that we are unable to understand this language saw what happened to the governor of Rivers State, and they're all accepting that, look, there is one lion king in the forest, that we should obey the master this time around. So politically, it is not the best for the coalition. So you can see that in the momentum the coalition came with about 2 months ago had actually gone down, because they couldn't have gotten more people. They needed those PDP governors, to join them. They needed the APC governors to equally join them. But who would want to trade, his political future on, gamble it on a. I just initially told you that many a time Mr. President will have the odds of having 95% of the time being re-elected. So why would you want to gamble such, such opportunity of you becoming re-elected as a governor, whereas you don't know if the man will come back and then, deal with you. So that's the issue. For me, there's no coalition. That's the simple truth. And remember, the Labour Party that we're talking about coalition, actually, is obviously clear they're not going, P2B is not going to any coalition with anybody as at now. It might happen tomorrow, but the coalition you are talking about, which is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, Kwakwanso, and probably El-Rufai, that particular coalition is dead before even it arrives.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chikezie Obasi, for your resourceful contribution on Politicals this evening. He is the Secretary Guild of Public Affairs Analysts of Nigerian State Branch, and our subject matter on the very first segment is 2027 Akwaibom State Governor supports Tinubu'S re-election.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.